our player spotlight tonight, our SeatGeek player spotlight on Celtics Talk Weekly, of course, brought to you by SeatGeek. Use the code Celtics Weekly for 20% off your first SeatGeek purchase. Do not forget to type in that code out. Check out SeatGeek, your provider of all the great seats across the sports world out there. And of course, the provider of our sponsorship for Player Spotlight, who tonight was Kristaps Porzingis. In his return to the floor, Kristaps Porzingis missed 9 of the last 10 games. Very quietly, kind of crept up there. He would over time. It felt like, oh, Kristaps Porzingis, oh, illness, he'll be out a couple games. All of a sudden, he was out 9 of 10 games. But tonight, Kristaps Porzingis finally comes back in the lineup. Luckily, comes back into the lineup, scores 24 points, not just 2 rebounds, 1 block. He was a plus 13 in the plus minus category, 9 of 16 from the floor, 5 of 6 from the free throw line. Kristaps Porzingis was also 1 of 7 from 3. We don't really have to talk about that, but like I mentioned earlier, he was also 8 of 9 from 2-point range. But Kristaps Porzingis, the reason we have to talk about Kristaps Porzingis in tangent with the Celtics lineup tonight, and see Kristaps Porzingis on the top of the screen, particularly in the fourth quarter, is because Kristaps Porzingis tonight played the entirety of the fourth quarter for the Boston Celtics, played 32 minutes in his return to the floor for the Celtics, and also scored 14 of his 24 points. I believe the number's 14. Somebody could stat check me on that one. I believe it was 14 at the end of the fourth. It did not notch another point. Always have trouble in that one, writing down stats at the end of the fourth, but there's a minute or two left. Player might get an extra rebound, an extra a number, whatever it might be. But regardless, Kristaps Porzingis over 10 points in the fourth quarter tonight and was huge late in this game. It seemed like for most of the night, Kristaps Porzingis didn't really have it going the way that we saw him have it going a couple weeks ago when he was really hitting his stride with the Celtics. Yet now, coming back into the lineup after this fourth quarter, Porzingis, you have to give him the player spotlight tonight just for what he did and his ability to come back onto the floor and impact the game the way he did in the fourth quarter of this ball game. 24 points, 2 rebounds, a block, 6 of 19, or sorry, 9 of 16 from the floor. Kristaps Porzingis tonight, and Porzingis over 10 points coming in that fourth quarter period. Porzingis, for part of the night, couldn't get his 3-point shot going. He was aggressive. I didn't actually think Porzingis missed a step. I think there was a lot of missed shots from Porzingis, particularly from beyond the arc tonight, that made his performance look a little bit lopsided for most of this game. But I thought for most of the night he was playing well. I thought he was playing healthy. That was very important to me. Just looking at the way he was playing, he didn't look hobbled. He didn't look slow. He didn't really look out of shape out there. You know, he looked conditioned. I would say if the Celtics' plan was to condition Kristaps Porzingis over these past couple of days, over the past week, because we kind of speculated last post game with Griffin that Kristaps Porzingis was out of the lineup for nearly 2 weeks. It doesn't make sense for the Celtics to really hold him out 2 weeks. The conspiracy on that, I think we can throw out the door. But bringing him back, right? Porzingis coming back into the lineup. The Celtics, it's possible the Celtics wanted to ramp up Kristaps Porzingis into playing again. We thought Kristaps Porzingis against the Lakers. He apparently said yes on Twitter. We're still unconfirmed of whether that was true, what's going on there, but there were some rumors that he wanted to play against the Lakers. Didn't appear in that game, and then all of a sudden, didn't appear in the next 2 games either, against the Jazz, against the Denver Nuggets. No, I'm getting these games completely out of order. Against the Thunder. The Thunder were the other game. It was the Lakers, Jazz, Thunder. Didn't play in those games, and it was amidst I want to say the Thunder game. Was it the Thunder game? It was either the Thunder or the Jazz game. I think it was the Jazz game. Okay, it was the Jazz game. A lot of games lately. 82 games in the season. These kind of things happen. The Jazz game, Kristaps Porzingis tweets out that he has a viral illness. Hasn't identified what it was yet, and we were all speculating here on postgame that that was terrible, and we have no idea when Kristaps Porzingis is coming back. And is he all right? What's going on with Kristaps Porzingis? What are we not being told? And we didn't know what was going on. by the time the Jazz game rolled around after the Lakers game. That was last Monday, I want to say, against the Jazz. But there was some speculation that Porzingis wanted to play against the Los Angeles Lakers. The Celtics held him out the Jazz game, held him out the Thunder game, and then held him out the first night of the back to back last night in Miami. Brought him back tonight. But the scenario that we brought up was maybe Porzingis was getting out of the illness, right? Because he had a viral illness. We don't know what type of viral illness he had, what it affected, but maybe he was getting out of the illness mid last week against, say, the Sixers, the Blazers, the Celtics are playing those two teams. Maybe Porzingis is coming out of his illness at that point in time. But then, wanting to come back onto the court, the Celtics go, hold up, don't come back against the Lakers. You've been out nearly 2 weeks. We want to work you back into play. We want to ramp you up a little bit. We want to recondition you a little bit. And then all of a sudden, Kristaps Porzingis misses some time again. Misses another couple games, another 3, 4 games, and then tonight you could say, was it the perfect opportunity to bring Porzingis back in the lineup because all of a sudden he's missed the last 2 weeks. Porzingis misses last night's game. You knew he wasn't going to play one of these two back to backs, but gets an extra day of rest yesterday on top of the huge slew of rest he's already had. And now you play this game for Kristaps Porzingis. You have 2 nights off until the Nets come back on the schedule. So this was a good game for Kristaps Porzingis to come back and kind of gauge himself in before 2 days of rest against a similar opponent, really the same opponent on Tuesday night coming up. This game tonight on this Saturday, Kristaps Porzingis came back into the lineup, and I thought he was spry. I really thought he came back, didn't really miss a beat. Yeah, he didn't shoot particularly well, but Porzingis, that is not. I'm not saying he's a bad shooter. I'm not saying that about Porzingis because he's a great shooter for his size. But Porzingis, if he's going to have a couple of clunky shooting games, that's to be expected out of Kristaps. The way he just fires it from deep, the way he does. I mean, there's no hesitation within his shot. Some of the shots he takes, it's very surprising for a player his size to have that touch from that far away. I mean, it's truly something to behold. But Kristaps Porzingis having a bad shooting night is not out of the realm of possibilities. But everything else, him cutting to the rim, setting screens tonight, defensively, the way he was moving up and down the floor, Kristaps Porzingis to me looked healthy in this matchup, and it looked like potentially over the past week he was over that illness. He was on the bench with the Celtics in Miami. He was traveling with the team. He was practicing with the team. I think it's possible the Celtics, he was over the illness. Kristaps Porzingis was over the illness the past week, and the Celtics wanted to revamp him, recondition him back into play. And I think if that was the case, I think we saw the result of that tonight in this game against the Brooklyn Nets because Kristaps Porzingis, he didn't look like he missed a beat. It didn't really look like he was coming back from an injury whatsoever. It just looked like he was out there playing basketball the same way he had a couple weeks ago. Was he as dominant? Maybe not, and that's because of some of the shooting numbers. But in the fourth quarter, he was surely showing some of that dominance. He was the X factor for the Celtics down the stretch. I mean, some of the shots he was hitting from, of course, or I shouldn't even say the one shot he hit from beyond the arc. He was 1 of 7 tonight. I almost said the shots he hit from beyond the arc, but the one shot he hit, it was in the fourth quarter, and just his ability to roll to the rim, cut to the rim, and his screen setting ability. I think this is something the Celtics. Whoever's teaching this up in Boston, and really it's been Al Horford outside of maybe 2 seasons, but the screen setting in Boston for the past decade has been utterly elite. Some of the big men who have come through Boston, just their physical, the physical nature of themselves, and just the positioning of themselves. They're all great screen setters. I think guys like Aaron Baines, Daniel Tice, of course, still have Al Horford, Robert Williams, formerly coming through here a long time ago. Let's give a shout out because we had a Jared Sullinger reference last night. Shout out Jared Sullinger because Jared Sullinger, there was a Jared Sullinger jersey courtside at the Miami Heat Celtics game last night, according to Franco, of course. According to Franco, so just take it with a grain of salt. Just saying, Franco, our reporter here on that one. But guys, screen setters like that, dude. The Celtics have had tremendous screen setters the past decade, and Kristaps Porzingis, he's another one of those guys for the Celtics. And when I say a great screen setter, that doesn't just mean it's a physical body who can stand in there and just take a hit from a defender who's flying, trying to fly either over or under the screen or just going to hit the screen. straight up. It's not just about the physicality of the screen, it's about the positioning of the screen. Kristaps Porzingis knows exactly how to position screens in order to achieve the goal he wants to achieve every single time, whether that's picking and popping off of an opportunity where Jason Tatum, Derek White, Drew Holiday, they're going around the corner, going downhill, getting the ball back to him. He knows the angles of the screens he wants to set in order to get the guys to go where he wants them to go and where they want to go ultimately too, and where he wants to go. And he's very great at manipulating the defense one way or the other, whether to switch out onto him or to not, to follow the ball handler, to follow more of himself. And Kristaps Porzingis, you really forget some of the when you have an elite player. I'm going to talk about this too. When you have an elite player who is in and out of the lineup, when you have a guy who misses a lot of time, who's an elite player, and then comes back, what's very noticeable right away, almost every single time, is just how many little things within the game of basketball that elite player affects to the point where they affect the winning of their own ball club. I mean, I think about that with Kimball Walker a couple of years ago when he was in and out of the lineup. Now, of course, he was dealing with knee soreness. He was compromised some games. It's kind of a tragic story with Kimball Walker. But at the same time, when he was in and out of the lineup, when he came back into the lineup, Kemba Walker was that player who all of a sudden on the offensive end of the floor, because defensively had his own issues, but offensively, Kemba Walker was just spectacular, whether it was the scoring game, the playmaking, the ball handling, some of the little things Kemba Walker would do to get guys open, some of the little things that Kemba Walker would do to get himself buckets. They were just those were elite type of things that to me they don't get discussed within the game of basketball. Just someone's vision within the game, being able to look off a player somewhere else to pass the ball somewhere. We've seen LeBron James just perfect some of that over time. Some of the best playmakers in the game of basketball perfect that. We also see just the handle I've talked about with Kimball Walker, just the handle within his game. Some of the best ball handlers of the NBA came through the league last generation, and that's all out there. But talking about Kristaps Porzingis, he's also one of those players as well. This is the main point: is Kristaps Porzingis. There are a lot of little things within his game that are just purely elite. Whether it's the touch on the 3-point shot from far away, just his ability as a 7'3" big man to shoot the ball from as deep as he does and from anywhere as he does. I mean, really, if you're closing out late to Kristaps Porzingis, there is not a chance in the world you are contesting that 3-point shot because he's 7'3". I mean, his wingspan is an 8-foot wingspan. If he's holding the ball up here, I mean, there's no way that somebody, a 6'6" defender, is going to be able to get to that ball and really contest it, really deter it, really challenge it off the catch and shoot for Kristaps Porzingis on those pick and pop opportunities or any opportunity from beyond the arc for Kristaps Porzingis. But the touch on the shot for Kristaps, we were talking about some of the angles of the screens he sets, his touch around the rim too, just his ability to turn and shoot the ball, whether it's those little baby jump hooks or just he kind of has this unorthodox way of scoring to himself around the paint when he gets the ball near the bucket, whether that's in post-up opportunities or rolling opportunities. Kristaps Porzingis, just with his length and his touch, just has that ability to get the ball into the rim from any angle out there, and that's something that's truly special within his game. And that's why Kristaps Porzingis, that's why he has to be player spotlight tonight. Is all of those little things came out in the fourth quarter of this game and came out throughout tonight's game. And there were a lot of other candidates. Don't get me wrong. Tatum, you could say 8 assists, 8 rebounds, 20 points tonight. Had himself a solid game. He's clearly our player spotlight leader of the season. You could say Drew Holiday. He was a player spotlight last night. 12 assists on the night, 11 points. I believe he had 5 rebounds as well. Going through the list, Peyton Pritchard, 22 points tonight, 7 of 11 from the floor, 5 of 8 from three. So you had multiple guys play well for the Boston Celtics tonight in their entirety, and but I really believe that Kristaps Porzingis put the Celtics over the top. However, because of all the little things he does within the game of basketball, giving the Celtics that extra big man out there to play with Al Horford not out there tonight, and just the way he performed in the fourth quarter. I mean, Kristaps, he was not winning player spotlight up until the fourth quarter. What he did in the fourth quarter closed this game out for the Boston Celtics and really led the Celtics towards a win that could have been a loss. And in a losing scenario, it's a lot worse because we're sitting in here, we're not concerned about the Celtics, but we're sitting here going, this game was a game for the Celtics. Oh, they came out, they tried to play, they played well early, and then they just fumbled the bag, and they fumbled another game down the stretch. And we're not concerned, but we're asking, how concerned are we in the Celtics doing this over and over and over again? And can they do it over and over again in the playoffs? Tonight, they put up the same trend. They put forth the same trend of going ahead, relinquishing the lead, pulling it out in the fourth quarter. Yet it doesn't really feel, since the Celtics won the game, it doesn't really feel like there needs to be concern cast over this one. And I would say recently too, you were beat by the Thunder, you're beat by the Cavs, close margins within those games. Every other game, you pretty much had a problem with, and including those games, the Cavs and the Thunder game, and I'll actually exclude the Thunder game because the Thunder game, the Celtics actually didn't have a lead in. So I'll actually exclude that game. But every other game, the Celtics had a lead in, lost the lead, needed to come back at a certain point, whether that was re-establishing the lead or really coming back from a deficit, depending on what night it was. This has been a theme with the Celtics as of late, yet they still have a pristine winning record, 5-2 on that homestand, and then all of a sudden, to in their oh, do we have here he is.
Yeah,
Here he comes. Nick Franco. I wish I had a name for that dance because it's a cool dance.
quick little Irish jig. Just got back from the Boston bar crawl that was going on today, but was able to catch most of the game